talking about the sports you do and don't know, both within and surrounding Baltimore. Don't ask him about preseason games, oh no, stuff and things in Griffin Basso. Despite it being on the internet, he can call it what he wants, so Glenn Clark Radio, Glenn Clark Radio, Glenn Clark Radio. Duke sucks.
All right then. Hi. Good morning. It's Glenn Clark Radio. I just love it when a plan comes together. That's my favorite part about doing live shows. It is a Tuesday edition of the show. We have much to do on the program today. PressBox Ravens beat writer Bo Smolka will join us in moments. Later on, we will catch up with Joe Serpico, of course, PressBox fantasy football analyst. We'll preview Waiver-Wire Wednesday with him. He'll attempt to do a mea culpa on Sean Tucker, but it's too late. I love Joe, but Joe has this problem where he looks at, like, percentage of leagues owned, and he's like, hey, look, there's still 40%. Dude, nobody cares about the league where there's 4 teams in the league. In real leagues, the player's not available. Last week was the week to get him. Yeah, I'm having it out with Joe today. It's going to happen. Now, to be fair, I ignored his advice last week. But I didn't go hard enough in the one league where I could have really used Sean Tucker. I could have really used him, and I should have thrown more fab at him, and I didn't. So we're having it out about it. It's all good. All good. We'll also this morning catch up with Braxton Woodson, Navy quarterback. He was pressed into duty against South Florida on Saturday and came through with flying colors in a big win for the Mids. And DJ Armstrong Jr., what a week the UMBC guard has had. Last-second game winner at Morgan State, and then a buzzer-beating overtime game winner against Wagner in Catonsville on Sunday. We will chat with DJ Armstrong Jr. from UMBC this morning as well. So much to do on the program today. Today's show is brought to you by Game Day Men's Health in Owings Mills, Frederick, and Columbia. I have been taking peptide proteins, and I have been glad that that was the decision that I made because it has benefited me greatly. Used to wake up in the morning and make those Tony Romo noises. Now I wake up in the morning, and I am good to go. I'm like Neil Diamond. Coming here, the whole thing. I do have to... Yeah, it's the Tony Romo noise. I don't know what the rules are for commercials. I was thinking about that over the weekend, and if we can get in trouble for these. I don't know. We'll just gotta be careful about it.
All right.
I don't know. I just gotta think.
What if should I just do it then, and then?
Okay, yeah, all right. So I used to wake up in the morning and feel like this. I feel like there was actually even more to Tony Romo's noise. I feel like it didn't even get there.
Let's try again.
I used to wake up in the morning and feel like this. Now I wake up in the morning and feel like,
come on, yeah!
That's what's changed since I started taking peptide proteins from Game Day Men's Health. I would encourage you to consider doing the exact same if you're a man of a certain age and you're feeling sluggish and run down. Well, first get your free testosterone test because that might be the problem. It might be that you're low T. So find out. And if you are, they got a treatment plan. If you're not, peptide proteins could be the answer. 443-264-4454, 443-266-3505. That's Columbia, the first number for Owings Mills, 240-931-3717 in Frederick for Game Day Men's Health. GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Also, if you're dealing with ED symptoms, if you're dealing with, stubborn belly fat, just won't come up, stuff that men don't want to talk about. We need a safe space for men. Game Day Men's Health. I'm headed there today. Maybe I'll drag Griffin out with me today. We'll see how that goes. But I'm headed there today, and you just feel good every time you're there. GameDayMen'sHealth.com. All right. Before we get to Bo Smolka, yesterday John Harbaugh met with the media. As would be expected, one of the topics of conversation, although it didn't come up until late in the press conference, was the offensive line and the continued struggles. They were 1 for 4 scoring touchdowns in the red zone in Cleveland after going 2 for 5 the week before. Maybe this is the time for change to the offensive line. John Harbaugh did not give us any reason to think that he agrees with the sentiment.
John, I think just in general nowadays, people will focus on 1 or 2 clips of a certain offensive line, or in particular, like a group of offensive line. You guys obviously evaluate everything. Are you seeing the necessary progress that you want to see from that group as a whole going forward?
Yeah, I am. I mean, is there more to the question, or is it just a general question like that?
It was a general question about, you've been asked almost every week about making potential changes there and why not. And I'm asking, are you seeing the progress where you don't think changes are necessary?
You put the best 5 players out there. The best 5 players are the best of the guys, 5 guys who are playing the best. That's what you do. I mean, it's not even a hard answer, So the question is pretty much, yeah, we're putting the best 5 players out there, and they're playing pretty darn good. Can they play better? Sure. And you evaluate it play by play. Every single position, you evaluate it play for play for play for play. And some plays are great. Some plays are good. Some plays need to be better. You want them to be better, and you try to improve on them. So that's how it goes with every position. So, and there's always going to be areas where, that from one game to the next can play better or whatever. So that's how it works. You put your team out there and you compete. That's what we've been doing. So all of our guys, including our offensive line, fight and compete and get after it. And that's what those guys are doing too. So none of our positions are perfect, and they're not perfect either. So, but they're trying to be. They're trying to be. So we put our best group out there and we fight. That's what we do.
John, do you think that
John Harbaugh yesterday after being asked about the offensive line? Let's discuss that further. He covers the Ravens for PressBox. He's with us every Tuesday. He's our friend Bo Smolka, and he's back with us now here on GCR. But what's strange to me about yesterday's response from John is, as Jeff Rebeck, I know your BFF, alluded to, he's talked about the possibility of changing offensive linemen during the course of the year. And so it seemed like kind of odd and defensive yesterday when, it's something that he's openly acknowledged and discussed at times during the course of the season.
Yeah, it's clear that he's tired of hearing about it. I mean, he just is. You can tell in his answer that he's just sick of defending these linemen, and we can argue whether he set himself up, as to your point, at several points. He has said everything's on the table. We'll look at everything. We consider changes, and maybe he did. And ultimately, they decided, as he said yesterday, we put our best 5 out there. Now, I don't know what that says for Corey Bullock or for Ben Cleveland, that they're not one of them. Now, I do think there's a chance that they are kind of leaving Bullock to focus on a backup center role and just be ready at center rather than have him have to move to guard in the back center. I don't know that for sure. No one's told me that, but that's a possibility. Clearly, they don't think Ben Cleveland is any better than the other 2 guards, and they haven't thought that all year. They haven't thought it all summer. Emory Jones is a guy who, the 3rd-round rookie, who he's coming along, but again, he missed all spring, all summer, all training camp, and then all the first, half of the season or first 7 weeks. So theoretically, he's way behind, and he's still getting up to speed. So, yes, it's been a consistent problem. Running between the tackles has been a problem all year. Short yardage running has been a problem all year. A lot of that, I think, you can trace to the offensive line play, and he's frustrated. And I would suspect John Harbaugh might be privately frustrated as well that this is who they have. Maybe he hopes they had made a change to upgrade the roster and didn't. I don't know that. He's never said that. But there's frustration in his voice when he answered that question. He's asked, a lot of fans say, why don't you guys ask about the offensive line more? Why don't you ask about the offensive line more? the bottom line is he's frequently asked about the offensive line, and he's kind of tired for answering for them. And he's, you could sense that in his tone of voice yesterday.
Yeah, I certainly got the sense of it. It was just odd to me because, again, it's something he's discussed. Like, it can't be crazy to you that we're talking about it when you've talked about it. That's the part that's kind of confusing. I guess the other thing, Bo, is like the biggest area for me that I can point it out. Yes, we can say that, the run game has struggled a little bit in general, but hey, Derrick Henry ran for over 100 yards, obviously because he ran for 59 yards in one play. But I think the red zone is the area where it stands out the most. And as I brought up this week, the Ravens go 1 for 4 in the red zone after only going 2 for 5 the previous week. I guess the question becomes to you, is that the entirety of the story to you about the red zone is, the offensive line, or do you think it's more complicated than that?
Well, I mean, the red zone is always, especially the deep red zone, like inside the 10, it's always tougher because everybody is compressed. There's just more people in less space. And so it's harder to find receivers get open. There's just more people. And so the deep red zone is always going to be more challenging, but I do think their inability to win blocks at the line of scrimmage is a big part of it. When you have Patrick Ricard and Derrick Henry, you should absolutely be able to get a yard or two when you need it. Now, I know they didn't have Ricard for the first half of the year, but they're not getting the push up front. Derrick Henry's getting hit behind the line of scrimmage more than I can ever remember, and he's not getting past the line of scrimmage more than I can remember. And then some of it is the play calling, and Todd Monken's said it. He's owned a few of the bad calls they've made near the end zone. Now, should you roll out Lamar Jackson more often and give him more options to run pass? That's something I think they'll look at. They did run that kind of sweep with him to the left behind all the linemen 2 weeks ago in Minnesota. Worked really well. Didn't get a touchdown, but it got him a first down deep in the red zone. But I think it starts with the offensive line and not getting pushed first. But again, and the play calling sometimes has been a problem. I think that, and Todd Monken has owned it. And then it's just executing. And what does that mean? Well, it means, for one, it means making the right blocks. It means hitting the holes, and it means performing. Receivers get open, make the cut that you need to make to get open. Lamar Jackson, see him and get him when the space is tight. So there's a lot of breakdowns there. But as I wrote on after the game this week, I mean, at some point in the regular season or in the postseason, if they get there, kicking 24 and 25-yard field goals will get you beat against high-powered offenses. That's just not going to win games when it matters. So they have to figure it out, and has to be considered one of their most pressing problems.
I think there's no doubt about it. Bo Smolka is with us here on GCR. Bo, I think that you bring up Lamar Jackson, and the other part to me in general about the offense is while they're winning, and while he certainly played well in the Miami game and for stretches the Minnesota game, he clearly didn't play well in the Cleveland game, and I get that Cleveland's defense is outstanding, and there's just something to me about the way he looks that it's hard for me to define, but he just doesn't look like Lamar Jackson to me. He looks like someone who's either still dealing with an injury or a different injury, as we know it popped up last week, or who's sort of changing his thought process based on injury or because of the offensive line. Is he skittish? I don't know how to define it, and it's all in context because the version of Lamar Jackson I'm talking about is superhuman, but he just hasn't looked superhuman to me. And it's not just about deciding when to run, because I get that him wanting to sit in the pocket and let plays develop, but I mean, like, that was kind of an insane thought process against Myles Garrett. I don't know, man. It's hard for me to define, but it just doesn't look right to me.
Well, I mean, he's clearly not running as much as he has in the past, and whether that's his hamstring, this knee soreness that kept him out of practice last Wednesday, just a general hesitation to do it more. He hasn't run as much. I'll say, and you're right, the last couple of games he's looked off. His completion percentage for the year is at 68, which would be the highest of his career. Mm-hmm. So he was slinging it before he got hurt. 15 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. By a lot of metrics, he's doing well. But I'll say this too. Jim Schwartz in Cleveland has had his number more than once. And I know he let Lamar Jackson lit them up late in the game here. But that Cleveland defense has given this team problems before. And Jim Schwartz just seems to have he does a good job against them. And when you have Myles Garrett, you're probably going to do a good job against him. But at least 3 of those sacks of that Myles Garrett got, that was a case where Garrett had to keep extending the play to get him. And I know you can say, well, yeah, Lamar Jackson held the ball too long. Part of that, give credit to Cleveland. The guys were covered, and Lamar Jackson couldn't find guys open. And maybe he was missing Justice Hill in that situation. Maybe he was missing Rashad Bateman. There were guys that weren't there that would often be in there on passing downs. But I do think I suspect he's not at 100%. Players will say all the time, after the first week, no one's 100%. But he did miss games with a hamstring injury. He did miss a practice with knee soreness. He says it's all part of football. He's probably is nicked up. And maybe that is a factor in whether he decides to just tuck it and go. Because I think in his younger years, when that pocket breaks down and Myles Garrett's behind him, he's just tucking it and going. Mm-hmm. And he didn't do that, and then he got sacked 4 times by Garrett. So I do think there's something there. I suspect he's not 100%. He's never going to say that, but it does bear watching.
And I guess my question, Bo, is can this team make a run, a deep run, without the superhero version of Lamar Jackson?
Well, it's a good question, and that right now they just got to win enough games to get in the playoffs, and then they can figure that out. But he has been a superhero in the regular season a lot of times. He's rarely been a superhero in the playoffs, and that's the thing that's going to be his burden if they do get to the playoffs. He just needs to be better. He knows it. It's going, whether they like it or not, it's going to be a dominant storyline if they get to the playoffs. Can they win make a deep run without him as a superhero? Well, based on past history, it would appear they can't. And now there's other reasons why they haven't won in those situations, but he hasn't played well either. And so, this team, we've seen the flaws, but we've seen the team's strengths as well. And right now, the idea they can make a deep run is not on their radar. Their radar is get the play, win this week, and get further away from this 1-5 start and be in a position to make the playoffs, and then they can talk. But I think to your point, can they win without the superhero version of him? I don't know, because they haven't yet.
It's fair. It's entirely fair, and I think that's the reason why I have to ask the question, because I don't know. I don't know that they're capable of doing that. Bo, a couple of things obviously that stood out from the win over the Browns. The play call, we can debate whether or not the Ravens should have been in the position they were in with the Browns and all the concerns, but it doesn't take anything away from what was one of the gutsier play calls in that spot with that much at stake, needing it to work out. And, it does kind of become sort of a very memorable, iconic moment from this season.
Oh, no doubt about it. And I wrote after the game as well, it's going to be an iconic moment of Mark Andrews' career, he's going to do so many things, but at some point he's going to be the Ring of Honor here in Baltimore, I believe, and people are going to remember that play. Among all the other plays, they'll remember that one. And the interesting thing was I talked to Todd Monken last week because he had the other one last week where Andrews was lined up for a tush push and pitched it to Jackson. And I asked him, I said, is this the fun part of it for you, this draw a play on a napkin kind of concept to get creative? And he kind of said, well, look, we all work on plays, but the important thing is, working on it or coming up with the idea, it doesn't matter. You got to put it on the field, and you got to watch it on tape. And the phrase he used was, you got to get it oiled up so that it looks good. So if you need it in a game, you can execute it. And to their credit, they executed that play perfectly. The fact that Henry and Lamar Jackson went left froze a few players. The way Andrews turned, he turned first as if he was going to go left, and then he spun back right. Patrick Ricard completely cleared out the outside. And then Charlie Kohler should get a lot of credit. He made a block at the line of scrimmage and then another block at the second level. And they laid this red carpet out for Andrews. So everything that we talk about execution, I just mentioned execution. There's a great example. Everything about that play was executed at a high, high level. And give Monken credit for putting it in the system, for practicing it. These are the kind of things we never get to watch anymore on the practice field. But putting it on the practice field, going through the routine with it, and then having everyone on board do their part. And it was a very, very well-executed play. The other play I think I'd like to mention in this game is the play on the last series with Chidobe Awuzie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a touchdown if Awuzie doesn't
It's
continue that play.
No doubt.
And Awuzie is a guy that John Harbaugh said yesterday, he told Eric DeCosta he thought he was one of his more underrated signings. And remember, Awuzie and Jair Alexander both came in here with injury history, and there was a question of how durable either one of them might be, and Alexander obviously didn't work out. Awuzie's been a pretty steady, underrated part of this team. And that play he made, especially with Marlon Humphrey out of the game, he was going to have to take on a bigger role. That was a terrific play he made to stay with the ball, with the player, and break up the play in the end zone.
It was fantastic. There's no doubt about it. Say whatever you will about the Browns quarterbacks, and I don't know if there is anything to say about them, but that throw was actually outstanding. I mean, he really put it right on him, and if not for Awuzie, that is absolutely a touchdown. In fact, I would tell you, Bo, as you know, I took my kids to the game this weekend. We were sitting in the end zone where that play occurred, and everyone in that corner of the stadium, I don't know if it got picked up by the broadcast, was celebrating, right? Like for seconds afterwards, because that was a touchdown. Like they all saw it. It was a touchdown. It took a few seconds for everyone to recognize, besides my wife and I, that ball had come out and was on the ground. And so that was kind of a wild moment during the course of that game. All right.
I'll say this, and I know it's a different thing. It's a different thing. I don't want to bring up ghosts here or anything, but it did remind me to some extent of the Lee Evans play.
Yes, of course.
And I have always been of the opinion that Lee Evans did not drop that ball. He could have wrapped it up, but that defender made a play on that ball. And if the defender doesn't make a play on that ball, it's a touchdown. Awuzie was more active and made a firmer, stronger play on the ball, but I thought of the Lee Evans play right away.
Is that Sterling Moore? Was that his name from the Patriots?
I believe it was. Yeah, I'd have to go back and look. Yep.
Bo, obviously, speaking of defensive backs, I guess we'll be monitoring Marlon Humphrey this week, Rashad Bateman, and Keon Martin. Anything else that's on your radar for this week?
Well, I mean, Keon Martin had a really good game in that game.
Yeah.
And, if you watch the Kyle Hamilton sack, Kyle Hamilton gets the sack because Keon Martin had elevated and took away the vision from Sanders, who couldn't throw. And then he gets clobbered. I think it was it might have been a different sack. But anyway, Keon Martin had a really good game. That was an interesting one. I want to get more detail from John Harbaugh because he said Keon Martin stayed behind in Cleveland and was taken to the hospital after the game. And that is not something that usually happens after a game. So if they don't have Keon Martin and they don't have Marlon Humphrey, then that's even more significant because they're two of their slot guys. So I'm hoping to get more detail from John about Keon Martin, what happened with him. We asked him whether Marlon Humphrey would be able to play. When he said if he had the surgery, he thought he'd be out a week or two. It's been one now. We'll see if it's also two. And whether he can play with his left hand wrapped.
Yep.
He joked, he talked the other day about trying to play with one hand. It's not that easy or try to catch a ball or tackle with one hand. So, but we'll be seeing if he's out there. And Bateman's the other one. Yeah, he had that hip drop tackle where he hurt his ankle, and we'll be watching to see whether he's out there. But I'm definitely interested to hear if we learn more about Keon Martin.
Bo Smolka, and of course, we'll get to see old friend Tyrod Taylor this Sunday as the Jets come into town. So good for Tyrod. It is kind of wild to me that, like, of all the players from the Super Bowl 47 roster that are still in the NFL, it's Joe Flacco and Tyrod Taylor. Like, that's the group. That is kind of crazy.
John said yesterday, credit to Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah.
We know the average length of an NFL career, and he has just kept at it.
Really
just kept at it. He's still playing, and here he is with another chance to start an NFL game. I mean, credit to him.
No doubt, man. No doubt. Good for Tyrod that he has stuck it out this long and has earned it by playing really well when he's had the opportunities to. At B Smolka is how you follow him. Of course, PressBoxOnline.com is where you see all of his stuff. Bo, always appreciate you, bud. It was good to see you the other night, and we will talk to you again next Tuesday, all right?
All right, Glenn. Thanks. Take care.
Bo Smolka, PressBox Ravens beat writer, with us here on GCR. And, yeah, that's my only response to the John Harbaugh stuff is just, dude, I don't understand the defensiveness about it. You have talked about the possibility of making changes. So why would you be bothered by being asked about it? And I think that Jeff was trying to protect. I do think like that Jeff originally asked the question, and I think Jeff, knowing him, would agree. It was kind of a clumsy way. We do this all the time in these circumstances where you're trying to soft pedal into a question by, these crazy people on the internet, right? But it doesn't have to be about the crazy people on the internet. John has referenced the possibility of making offensive line changes. So he can't be caught off guard by this suggestion. Bo's point of he just thinks he's sick. This is the group. This is who it's going to be. And he's kind of sick of talking about it. I get it. I can understand that. But it really is at some level telling us we don't have eyes. And I will even acknowledge, like, Andrew Voorhees, I do think, has turned the corner a bit. A bit. I think there's an argument that the one that's been more disappointing has been Tyler Linderbaum. But that's in context, right? Like, I still think
how
he's
much
a
of
good...
that, how much of that do you blame on the fact that he's playing between...
And I think Faalele is the one that we're all looking at and saying, explain this to me. I think Andrew Voorhees actually was graded pretty well again yesterday or this week by PFF too. Not that I think PFF is Bible, but you get it. All right, when we come back in, we are going to chat with Braxton Woodson. What a Saturday he had coming off the bench when Blake Horvath went down and helping guide Navy to the finish line in a massive win over USF. We'll talk to him about that. It is a Tuesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
The weather's getting cooler, so when you and your family are picking out a place to dine, be it lunch or dinner, let's make it nice and easy. Now, with 2 great locations, the Costas Inn remains your #1 destination. Whether you want to get steamed crabs and the full Costas menu out at the original location at 4100 North Point Boulevard, or sample the complete menu minus the steamed crabs at the new location above the grandstand at the Timonium Racetrack. Costas is your place to go. Check out the website, CostasInn.com, for a look at the menu, and if you want to plan that crab feast, call 410-477-1975. The Costas Inn.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
The latest edition of PressBox is available now. On the cover, Don Marcus profiles new Maryland Athletic Director Jim Smith, breaking down the challenge he faces in his new role and the unique background he brings to the job. Also inside, Brandon Schwartzberg takes an in-depth look at Orioles outfielder Dylan Beavers. And we meet college basketball players from all the programs around the state before the season gets underway. PressBox is available for free at over 250 locations throughout the region. And starting this month, you can find us at Baltimore area High's Dairy Store locations. Plus, you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps.
Get ready to hit the ultimate holiday jackpot at Live Casino during the live-action $1 million giveaway. Every Friday through December 26th, we'll draw 25 lucky cash winners, but only one winner each Friday will advance to the final rounds on December 26th, where you could win $1 million in just 3 spins. Come make your million, only at Live Casino. At Erndale Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Feeling sluggish, unfocused, or not like yourself? It could be low testosterone. At Game Day Men's Health, we specialize in testosterone replacement therapy to help men boost energy, improve mood, and regain confidence. Our treatments, including testosterone cypionate, are safe, natural, and tailored to fit your lifestyle with weekly injections or pellet therapy. Get started today with a free testosterone test and feel the difference. GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Game Day Men's Health, where men reclaim their game.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Tuesday edition of the program. Today's show is also brought to you by County Sports Zone. CountySports.zone is the website. Find out everything you need to know about high school sports here in championship season. MIAA championships are in the rearview window, although the Turkey Bowl still to come, of course, next week. You can find out about that and get all of the latest on the public school brackets as we move towards Annapolis. Find out everything you need to know by going to CountySports.zone. It's proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Had to do this a little bit earlier this morning because of their busy schedule, but a great opportunity to catch up with Navy's Braxton Woodson right here on GCR. Well, Navy football coming off an absolutely massive 41-38 win over South Florida on Senior Day this past Saturday. They improved to 8-2 on the season. And our next guest came off the bench and delivered for Navy when called upon on Saturday. And, go ahead, Griffin. Why don't we show the people what it is that he did, courtesy of ESPN2. All right, we're not ready to do that. Professionals, ladies and gentlemen. Sincere apologies. This is rather embarrassing, if I'm being honest with you. We had a bit of an issue, and we hit play, and everything was wrong, and I'm very sorry. So we're going to pretend like it never happened. We need you to work with us and pretend like it never happened, it never occurred. And we're going to try again to catch up with Braxton Woodson right here on GCR. Well, of course, Navy came up with a massive 41-38 win at home over South Florida Saturday on Senior Day. And our next guest was awesome. Came off the bench when his name was called. Ran the ball 9 times for 103 yards and 2 touchdowns, including this one that you're about to see on your screen. With just over 4 minutes left, what became the dagger in the game, a 64-yard touchdown run. He is Navy quarterback Braxton Woodson, and he is with us this morning here on GCR. Braxton, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you, man. Thank you so much for taking the time for us.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Hey, man, what is it about the way that you guys do things? Maybe not the most focal part of the game plan during the course of the week, right, but you are ready to go, and you're able to deliver in that spot against one of the best teams in the country.
Yeah, I mean, it's just we really work hard at practice. We try to go over any situation we can. So I'm getting a pretty good amount of reps, basically the same amount of reps that Blake does. Because, in any moment, it's one play away. And I feel like, I owe it to all of my teammates, to be ready at every moment, especially like this weekend to step in, and do whatever I can to win us the game. So I just, falling back on that training that I have during the week, I think that's what really helped me and allowed me to perform how I did.
So there's no panic in you. You go and you're like, all right, let's go, right? Like this is where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, no, I feel like I was ready to go. It's always good, when you feel like your coaches trust you and they believe in you. They didn't seem worried. My teammates, they were all patting me on the back, telling me, let's do it. I was ready to go. I was fine.
How much did it help having just played the week before against Notre Dame? Like, I know it didn't go the way you guys wanted it to go, but there were some good plays in there.
Yeah.
How much do you feel like maybe you benefited having to be thrown into this spot on Saturday, to have been on the field and been through it in a game just 7 days earlier?
Yeah. I mean, it definitely helps a lot. Notre Dame, they were a great team, number 10 in the country. So going against them, obviously it was what it was, but it definitely built some confidence in me. Especially playing in front of 80 plus thousand people. In a moment, like this past weekend, I didn't feel like it wasn't anything I haven't seen already or anything I haven't been in already. So, I just prayed a little bit. Thank God for giving me the opportunity, and I was ready to go.
Braxton, I know that you root for your guys and you're happy for your guys, and when the team is having a great season, it's special. But does it mean more, like when you're in the midst of this special season, to now be able to say, and I've been a big part of that. Like I contributed significantly. Like as happy as you are for everybody else, does that mean something to you to be able to say, and I'm a real part of the reason why we're in this spot?
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody wants to see, go out there and do what they feel like they've come to the Naval Academy to play football, and stuff like that. So I really feel like, it's just a great opportunity, and I'm just glad to be here. So yeah, I definitely say it definitely means a little bit more when you actually, put in a little work towards it.
I believe that. I don't think there's anything selfish about that either, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's very normal. And then I saw a couple people shared about it on social media, but there's an image of Blake celebrating with you after you get the score, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you, like, walk me through that relationship? And
Yeah, I mean, Blake is an amazing guy. Just outside of football, just an amazing guy. We text each other often. We have a group chat, all the quarterbacks, where we send jokes and pictures and stuff like that. So I feel like we have a really good relationship, me and him, and the rest of the quarterbacks as well. So that really helps. Especially in those moments where you feel like you come off the sideline, you can ask him what he saw or what he feels like we should have did better or something like that. And I feel like, it was just two people working together to achieve a common goal. And I feel like that's what you saw when he was celebrating for me. And, vice versa. Anytime he gets in there and he does his thing, I'm excited for him. I'm happy for him.
that's awesome, man. That's really, really cool. I feel like that's the perfect, that's going to translate to, like, you're going to be serving alongside each other, right?
Yeah,
This is the way it goes. Braxton Woodson with us here on GCR. Braxton, this team, I'm sure you guys, as much as you try to block this stuff out, I'm sure you're aware of how people had probably written you off after what had happened against North Texas and then against Notre Dame. How did you guys insulate? How did you prevent some disappointing results from allowing things to snowball? How were you able, as a group, to get back on the horse this week and go deliver that performance?
Yeah, we talk a lot about compartmentalizing. Sometimes you just gotta, separate things from other things, and you just gotta face the next thing that's up ahead. We talk about going 1-0, just winning the next thing that's in front of you. So whether that be the next practice, the next class, the next test, the next military inspection, whatever it is, we're ready to go. And I feel like that's what we tried to do this week. Obviously, it worked in our favor. But every week to week, we're just trying to go 1-0. We're trying to do whatever we can, to put ourselves in the best position for success.
Do you have to call each other out ever? Do you ever see a guy like moping and you have to say, like, nah, we're not doing that here. Like, we're not going to feel sorry for ourselves. Did you have to go through any of that?
I mean, peer leadership, is really big here. Holding your guys accountable, because I mean, at the end of the day, we go to the top service academy in the country. So like it does get hard. There are days where you're down a little bit. But that's what you have your brothers for. Our locker room is really strong. So if somebody's down, the guy's right there next to him to pick them up.
That's awesome, man. I love to hear that. Braxton Woodson with us here on GCR. Braxton, let's talk about your path, because I think people might sort of be kind of getting familiar with your story, right? Like, you are the son of a football player. You got football all over your family. Was it always football for you? Did you always know that's what you wanted to do? Did you ever think, like, oh, man, maybe I should try something else? Like, what was the path for you that led you to playing football?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up always playing multiple sports, whether it was football, baseball, or track. My first 2 years of high school, I was going back and forth between football and baseball. But, football started to take a little bit more precedence. I was more excited about the football games than the baseball games. And truth be told, I couldn't hit a curveball. So, like, I really just – that's kind of what did it for me. I was like, okay.
Said I might need to be able to do something else.
Yeah. I was like, all right, so boom, football it is. And, I poured all into that, get trainers, camps, things like that. Obviously, it worked out in my favor. I was able to perform, and, just get blessed the opportunity to come here.
What about the part where you end up at Navy, right? Like, your family, peppered the SEC. Was it a dream of yours to play in the SEC? Was it something where you would have been willing to do? Like, walk me through how someone who I think we would all look at and say, why wouldn't you end up at Alabama or Auburn, even if it is not top-notch offers, even if you have a chance? Why would it be that you would end up at a place like the Naval Academy?
Yeah, I mean, the Naval Academy, it's its own, like, it's just separate from anything else. Like the people that they're putting out, not necessarily, the first round draft picks or anything like that, but they're putting out officers and leaders and people who are going to go back to their communities, and do something, for a change, actually just help people, in their area. And that's really what I wanted to do because, football isn't forever. Obviously, it's hard to think about that, being a senior in high school, trying to decide where you want to go. But football isn't forever. And, I want to do something that's going to make an impact on a lot of people and eventually help my family down the line. So that's what, I was thinking about there. Obviously, the SEC schools are great, big time football and things like that. But I feel like, we're 8-2 right now going against some pretty good competition. We're playing on national stages, just played against, big teams like that. So, I'm still getting the same, gratification that I feel like I would have gotten if I was anywhere else.
That's awesome, man. That's a really cool attitude to have. Were you always like that, or where did that come from for you that you were able to think that way?
I think it really came from my mom. She tried to put a lot of things into perspective for me, especially when making this decision. All of my family, my stepdad, my dad, my brothers, my sisters, they were all, very supportive of me, just telling me whatever I was going to do, they were going to be there to support me. So I feel like that's what really helped me a lot.
Was it important for you to play quarterback? Was that a big deal to you that, I feel like a lot of people, you can go to a service academy and play quarterback, or I'm sure you had people in your ear like, nah, just play this other position.
Yeah.
And you might have an opportunity to play at a different place. Can you tell me, did it matter to you that you wanted to be a quarterback in college?
Yeah, I'd say it mattered a pretty good amount to me because, that's what I worked my whole life for, to play quarterback. So, when I was given the opportunity to come here, play quarterback, had a pretty good chance of playing early. So that was kind of a big part for me, just not getting away from what I really, truly wanted to do.
Oh, that's cool, man. What about the part where Drew Cronick comes in and you see, like, you kind of throwing the ball a little bit? Like, does that – I mean, it's not a ton. I'm not going to, like, pretend like maybe next year we're going to see, like, 35 pass attempts or anything along those lines. But, like, did that excite you, the idea of, like, okay, we can mix it in? I can remind people that, it's not just running the option.
Yeah.
Like, it involves being able to throw the ball downfield sometimes too.
Yeah, absolutely. Coach Cronick is great. What he brought in here has – absolutely, just revolutionized, modern day Navy football. So when I saw that, it definitely, got me excited, got me going, and just being able to like hear his thoughts and pick his brain on, what it means to be a Navy quarterback. That's what I'm trying to, still learn today.
That's cool, man. Now, it's not done yet, right? Like y'all still have some really important ones on the horizon. You mentioned big atmospheres. Obviously, there's a big game on Thanksgiving night coming up at Memphis. How do you guys, take what you were able to do against North Texas and make sure you don't end up going the other way and maybe getting too high on the horse? What are those conversations like this week?
I think just to stay grounded. A lot of the times we say, losing maximizes things that you did wrong and winning minimizes things, but we're going to try to do the same thing. If we would have lost, we're going to try to maximize all the mistakes that we made, try to learn from this. Coach Newberry always says there's a lot of meat left on the bone. So we're going to try to, learn from that, learn everything that we did wrong. And we're going to try to, better prepare ourselves for Memphis because, they're a good team.
All right. So we're talking this morning. Later today, we're going to see the uniforms, right? Like,
okay, yeah.
How excited are you? How much are you? Dude, like every year, it just seems like they get better and better for the Army. I mean, it's outrageous how cool they look.
Yeah, the uniforms are great. And what I really like is the story behind them.
Yeah.
How they're able to incorporate, so much that's actually happened in the military and the Navy and the Marine Corps into the uniforms. So I'm really excited.
Man, that's awesome. Braxton, I wandered over. I saw you were on Instagram, but it looks like you're not doing a whole heck of a lot on Instagram. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, not really. All
right, but at Braxton Woodson on Twitter would be a good place for people to give you a follow, correct?
Yep.
Braxton's so happy for you, man. What a moment, right? Like, what an awesome – and we can't wait to see a lot more of them moving forward for you this season and after that. Thank you for spending time with us this morning. Go get him against Memphis on Thanksgiving. Really appreciate you doing this.
Thank you again. I appreciate you guys.
That's Braxton Woodson from Navy with us here on GCR. And unfortunately, we did have to record that a little bit earlier. And in the time between when we recorded it and when we aired it, we actually did get the opportunity to see the uniforms that both Army and Navy will be wearing here in Baltimore in just a few Saturdays. And we'll go with Navy's. There you have it. Do we know the story on – hang on a second. I can pull that up. I can pull it up.
Looks like it's probably in that link there.
Yeah, Navy250uniform.com is the website, but that's what it looks like. 2025 marks the 250th anniversary of the United States Navy, a milestone that celebrates the enduring strength and legacy of America's naval forces. Our goal is to tell a compelling story that seamlessly weaves together the history of the U.S. Navy, the original 6 frigates, I don't know what that means, or frigates, and the United States Naval Academy into a unified narrative. This anniversary will be recognized through a tribute to the 6 legendary ships that launched the fleet: the Chesapeake, the Constitution, the Congress, the Constellation, the President, and the United States. Every element of the campaign, from color and font choices to branding and detailing, draws inspiration from the Navy's storied past, honoring its origins while reflecting its continued commitment to excellence and service. Oh, hell yeah. I mean, I'm even just reading that fires me up. Like, fire me up. They got a lot of the history on various elements of the uniform and the ships that we were just talking about on that website, Navy250uniform.com. And now I love it even more. I was always going to love it. Now I love it even more. Now, these are the Army uniforms. I don't know. Do we have a...
I don't have a storyline to those either.
Army... let's see if they've got something here. Let's wander over to GoArmyWestPoint.com.
There's the helmets.
Yeah, that helmet looks good. I can't
like
lie
the
about
helmet,
that. The helmet looks good. The uniform itself is very clean. It just almost feels almost too plain for a... But I'm sure there's something to the background there that we're not seeing. This is their from 1775.football. Army and Nike team up for 2025 Army-Navy uniform to honor 250 years of service and sacrifice. For the past 250 years, the United States Army has stood as America's enduring symbol of service and sacrifice, born in the desperate conditions of the American Revolution. The Army's legacy is one of steadfast commitment. All right, get to the point of the uniform. All due respect.
Come on, it's the Army.
I want to know about the uniform. That's what I want. I don't want to know about the history of the Army in this. I can read that anywhere. I want to know about the uniform. All right, it gets there eventually, but you can go to 1775.football to find out about it. Those are the uniforms for Army and Navy. Always a very exciting day when we get to see those. All right. Thanks again to Braxton Woodside. Today's show is also brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel, the best place to watch every big event. You know, the thing about going to Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel, unlike when you actually go to the UFC pay-per-views, you're not going to end up in a brawl with Dagestani fighters.
Well, Dylan Danis isn't Dagestani.
You're not. Yeah. Well, he was in a brawl with.
Oh, sure.
Who?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, but I feel like it was probably Dylan Danis.
Yeah, it absolutely was. There's no debate about that. Did you hear the story?
No, I didn't hear that. I didn't care to look any
AI video of
Are you kidding
me? Islam making out with his coach.
And showed it to them?
And started showing it to like dude. Now I'm not no, you're not allowed to just beat people up for the sake of beating people up. You're not allowed to do that. Although I do think we all agree that Jalen Ramsey was allowed one punch for getting spit on.
Yeah.
Like, we don't ever like to side with the Steeler, but I think in society you get spit on, you get one punch. That's the rule. We're all good with it. That's what triggered that.
What if Dak had slugged Jalen Carter in the opening night and after?
It's an awkward spot, right, for the league. It's a very awkward spot for the league. I do think that should be part of the established precedent, though. Like, every player gets one punch if they get spit on. And we got to be able to see it. If we go back to the video and you didn't get spit, dog, you're
2 games?
Yeah, man. Like, that might be so you got to know that you were spit on in order for us to give you that pass. Like, if there's any gray area, you might just have to, that's what it goes. Anyway, you're not going to end up in a brawl when you watch the fights at Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel.
If that's what you're into, you probably might be able to find.
No, not at Sports and Social. No.
Okay.
No, you can go somewhere else if you want to start a brawl, but you're not doing that at Sports and Social. It's not that type of place. It's excellent. It is a big-time atmosphere, not just for fight nights, but for every big game. 100-foot media wall, great food and drink specials. Sports and Social, Live Casino and Hotel. Also had to do this earlier because of their practice schedule, but what a week it was for UMBC guard DJ Armstrong Jr. You don't know about it? allow us to tell you as we talk to him here on GCR. And joined now here on GCR by a young man who has had a hell of a week. First off, last week, UMBC went to Morgan State, and with 1 second left, he knocked down a game winner. And as if that wasn't enough, then when they hosted Wagner on Sunday, they were in overtime, and courtesy of ESPN+, this happened.
Screener for this game-winning shot. Here comes DJ there. Armstrong. That's the buzzer! He's done it again! 2 in a row! Unbelievable!
Our buddy Gary Stein on the call as DJ Armstrong Jr. is with us here on GCR. DJ, it's Glenn. It's great to chat with you, man. Congratulations on a hell of a run. Thank you for taking the time for us.
I appreciate you having me. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a blessing to be here, honestly, you know, to get the recognition, man, you know. So appreciate you.
Absolutely, man. How many game winners at any level, whether it was any of your stops that led you to UMBC, high school, how many game winners do you think you now have in your life?
2.
No, stop. There's no way. There's no way.
I know it.
Okay, so where does the confidence come from then? Like, wait, okay, when you're taking back the Morgan game, you haven't done it before. Did you know that you were going to be the one? Like, was that the plan all along?
It wasn't. It was really just to like get the best shot available.
Okay.
And my point guard JK, he told me, you know, to be ready. Like in the timeout, we ran the plays, stuff like that. It was a flat ball screen, and he was supposed to get downhill and just, you know, make a play, but. Coming off with how they was playing him like how Wagner was playing me last game,
okay.
You know, trying to lock me, not trying to let me get the ball, stuff like that. So he basically, you know, made the decision and told me, like, be ready, like the ball coming to you, like I'm gonna flip it to you and you shoot it, you make a play. So that's pretty much what happened. It wasn't supposed to be for me, but you know, like everybody, like my teammates, they have all the confidence in me, you know, just like I have the confidence in them, you know, so It was all about the trust and confidence. And, you know, I work on that shot. You know, I am a shooter. So, you know, like, it just all felt good. It felt good in the flow. So, yeah.
Okay, so then after that, at the end of the Wagner game, did you guys decide, all right, well, you know, we saw what happened the other night. We got to go back to DJ in this spot.
I feel like, yeah, and it's crazy because I'm going to, like, keep talking about JK because, like, he usually always has the ball, like, in that situation to give me the ball. So, like, even at the end of the second half, you know, we came off roll plays and stuff like that, and he looked straight towards me for me to, you know, end the game just like I did at Morgan. And coming out to in overtime, the same thing happened. You know, we ran out of bounds play, and then, you know, he looked for me. You know, it's usually always him who gives me the ball. So, like, he looked for me. I got it and just made a play. I made an amazing play. You know, I got to see the orange, and when I seen the orange, I knew it had a chance to go in.
Man, so you are unconscious right now from Beyond the Arc this season. You are shooting over 50%, which may that continue, first of all. Like, I hope you're not too superstitious and you're like, shut up, bro, I don't want to talk about it. But when you're in a zone like this, when you release the shot, do you know, like, do you, when it's out of your hands, do you know, like, oh, that one felt good?
Yeah, like, usually, like, every time, unless, of course, it's an in and out, you know, like, usually when it leaves my hands, it feels good. And I know when, you know, something's off a little bit, or, like, you know, because yesterday I didn't really have, like, a good, I guess, shooting night, but it wasn't, you know, crazy bad, but it's just, you know, usually the shots that, you know, I shot yesterday usually go in, you know, but sometimes the ball just doesn't go in. That's just how it is. So, you know, I usually, you know, and my teammates also trust me with the shots that I take and stuff like that. So
it's working out. It's working out right now. Yeah. He is UMBC guard DJ Armstrong Jr., America East co-player of the week. I have no idea how it can be co. We got to really look into that and get a deep investigation on how anyone could be in the same boat. He's with us here on GCR. DJ, I want to talk about you, right, and your path here. I think a lot of people know your father and the lengthy career he had in the NBA. Did you always know that, like, basketball was your thing? Was it, like, do you remember the first time you dribbled a ball? Like, was it always basketball for you to get to this point?
Yeah, it was always basketball. You know, I don't know how early my pops put the ball in my hand, you know, but from to when I can remember, like, you know, actually, like, you know, really loving basketball, like, you know, messing with basketball, like, you know, I enjoyed this at first was probably around like fourth grade. It might have been fourth, fifth grade. And, you know, like my mom signed me up for a rec league, little smooth rec league. And, you know, ever since then, it really took off. I'll say, like, I really, like, started taking basketball serious. Like, okay, I could really do something with this. Like, maybe when I got to high school. So probably like 9th, 10th grade, I was really like, yeah, I think this is something that I want to do after, you know, after I get out of high school. And, you know, like, I really enjoy it, really love it, love the game. So, you know, it was never no other sport, no football, no baseball, nothing like that. It was always basketball. So,
but it wasn't an easy path for you, right? Like, you had to go the JUCO route, and I don't know a lot of guys that go through Texas Permain Basin, and I definitely have to acknowledge that I had never heard of Texas Permain Basin before you ended up at UMBC. But what did going that route do for you? How did it help you as you got to the D1 level, having those stops, and where things probably aren't quite as glamorous, and where you gotta, I have no doubt, really work? What did that do to improve you as a basketball player? What did it do to change you as a man?
As a basketball player, it really just, like, had me look. I had an outlook on it of, like, you know, first of all, I'm blessed to be here anyway, because I get to, you know, play the game every day that I love, you know, and a lot of people would love to switch my spot. So, you know, like, I really just, like, took it as, you know, there's hoopers everywhere, you know, like, just because I'm in this position, I didn't, you know, look down on myself like, maybe I'm not as good as I am. Maybe I'm not, you know, I really just, you know, kept my head down, you know, just kept working really like that. And, you know, I started really looking at the talent that was at all the levels, like with JUCO, D2, and, you know, of course, D1. And I was like, you know, I'm really still special, you know, like, you know, I just kept my character high, always have positive vibes, you know, good energy, no matter where I was at, you know, because, like I said, it's a blessing to be there. And as a man, I feel like it really changed me because, like for the better, because of the hardship that, you know, sometimes you might not be where you want to be, but, you know, it is what it is. I'm in this position, you know, God put me in this position for a reason. You know, I always say that for myself. And everything happens for a reason, which is, you know, how I got here. You know, maybe I needed those steps down the line so I can, you know, become who I am today. And I just, you know, thank God, thank my family, thank everybody, you know, who's been in my corner, from all the coaches and teammates and stuff like that. So
that's cool, man. And I appreciate that perspective. DJ Armstrong from UMBC is with us on GCR. We mentioned your dad. Obviously, he was a hell of a player. He's also been a coach for a long time, right? Like, was he also like, I don't know if it's maybe too much. It feels like it might be 2 full-time jobs. Was he also coaching you as he was coaching in the NBA? Did he try to be a little more hands-off, let you do your thing? What was that relationship like?
He would always, you know, like, follow me throughout, like, you know, basketball, stuff like that. But mostly it was really just like, you know, being in Orlando, where I'm from, like, I have, you know, a good amount of trainers. You know, I would, my sister, she used to play basketball, so she would also, you know, kind of bring me under her wing and stuff like that, you know. And I think it was just the company that I was around, and, you know, my pops, you know, just watching stuff around him. You know, he has a basketball camp that, you know, I went to till I was maybe like 16 or 17, from maybe like 4th grade or something like that. I don't know, 3rd grade, something. So, like, you know, he's always been there throughout my journey, you know, just keeping my head up, you know, just, you know, telling me, you know, play the game the right way. You know, he was all known for the heart and hustle and stuff like that. So he always said, you know, don't take possessions off, you know, just just keep doing what I do, you know, and because he always says, you know, I know how to play the game the right way and stuff like that. So just trusting my work and stuff like that. So yeah, he was always there though, you know, throughout the journey, even though he wasn't physically there, you know, he was mentally there.
The relationship with your sister, how competitive? Like, do you guys, you know, like so we got to know, of course, Angel and Juju Reese here in Baltimore for a long time, and they would like legit trash talk each other. Were you and your sister like legit trash talkers?
Nah, I won't say we weren't trash talkers, but it was on like, you know, I wasn't really known as a shooter for like all my life. So like,
that's so crazy. That's so crazy for you to say, bro.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Like, but like, I went post grad out of after high school, and like that's really where I started flourishing. You know, they had the COVID and all that stuff. So coming back to where I couldn't even play basketball for I don't know how long because we had the curfew. Couldn't go outside because they took the rims off the hoops and stuff like that. So it's like, all right. So, you know, I came back. My sister actually got me in with the trainer, so it's her fault that I'm a better shooter than her. But yeah, like, you know, we will always have that rivalry of like, oh, who's the better shooter? Who's the better shooter? I still had that with my dad. You know, he kind of, you know, going over the other side, you know, like, okay, I'm a better shooter than him. But, you know, I'm still trying to get that full recognition. But it was never like trash talk. Because she would always help me, you know, and she would always challenge me. And still to this day, like, she'll always try and challenge me. Like yesterday, during the Wagner game, she's texting in the family group chat. I look after the game that she's in the family group chat, you know, trying to give me tips and stuff like that. So it's always, you know, she's always in my corner, cool, and, you know, stuff like that. So
what a cool relationship that is.
Yeah.
The UMBC part of this, right? Like, I'm assuming you knew at least that they had like won a game over Virginia in the NCAA tournament a couple years ago. But did you know much of anything else at all about UMBC? How did this happen that this ended up being the place for you?
I didn't really truly know about UMBC until like I'll say once I really got out of my JUCO, so after my sophomore year, and looking for a different school and stuff like that. Before I got to Texas Permian Basin, before I got there, I really like I had one of my old teammates, Marcus Banks. He was here the last 2 years, so we went to the same JUCO, and you know, so I knew about the school since then. And then Bryce Johnson from last year also. We're from the same city. We played against each other in high school. So, you know, I kind of, you know, taught them a little bit, you know, about how the place was. They told me like, you know, I really love it here and stuff like that. So when I came on my visit in around like, I want to say May, around something like that, I came here and I really enjoyed like the coaching staff, like they all want to win. You know, I love to be around, you know, like, winning culture, you know, however it is, you know, and they also told me like they're trying to flip this around because, you know, the past 2 seasons hasn't been, you know, ideal for, you know, UMBC. So I came here and, you know, they made me feel welcomed, you know, like it was very welcoming. The community, you know, everybody was just cool. It just seemed like, you know, a good vibe, a good, you know, positive energy. He said he wanted guys based off their character and like, you know, off unselfishness and stuff like that, and you know, who's tough and you know are coachable. So you know, like with him saying that, I was like, I think this is gonna be the spot for me because you know that's just the values that I value also.
Man, and it's working out so far. We like where it's headed. You guys went to Maryland and played an exhibition game, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I know it didn't end up going your way, but what did that do for your group and the belief in what you all were capable of doing to go to a place like that, play the way that you did, and really maybe should have won that game, even if it was only an exhibition?
I think that was a big, I guess, turning point in how, you know, we viewed each other. Because, of course, you know, we always think, you know, we're good, like we can do something special. And, you know, coaches telling us, like, you know, like we can make that happen and stuff like that. But I think actually going out there and, competing with them and, could have won, it was, a couple of possessions, and I think it made us really look at ourselves and be like we're actually we can really do this, and we can't go lower than the level that we think we are now. Like now that we practice, we got to practice 10 times better and 10 times harder than we actually did, because we can't BS it. We have to go. We just got to go. And with what Coach was saying, is like he's not one for the moral victories, you know what I'm saying, stuff like that. So now we got to up our level, because now he's going to up his level, because he sees how good we can really be, with a big oversized, Maryland team than us and stuff like that. So it was good to have that experience and, not only just play and be like, okay, we lost by 10, 15, okay. But to say, like, we really could have won that game, against a very good team.
And now you get a couple more chances, right? You get an A-10 opponent on the road this week in George Washington. There's a game at Georgetown here in a couple of weeks. A couple more shots to show the world what UMBC basketball is all about. DJ Armstrong, man, are you on Instagram, Twitter, that we can give people a plug? Tell them to go give you a follow?
Yeah. Well, Instagram is Daryl Armstrong Jr. And then my Twitter or X is DJ5 Armstrong.
Awesome, man. Dude, may there be 100 more. I can't believe you said I wasn't that great of a shooter. I can't believe you never had a game winner. Like, you couldn't look more comfortable. You couldn't look more natural. And may there be about 100 more of them coming for you this season.
If that's how we get the win.
Right, yeah. Or just win them real comfortable. You don't need buzzer beater.
Yeah, that too. I know my coach got gray hairs. He's losing hair. He's losing hair now. So,
as long as you win them, that's all that matters, as long as you win them. DJ, congratulations on an awesome start to the season. Look forward to catching up with you as the year goes on. Thank you for doing this with us.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate you for having me. It's a blessing.
Incredible stuff from DJ Armstrong Jr. this past week. I don't know how good UMBC is going to end up being, but I know they've been a lot of fun to watch so far, and we will see. I know that Buzz Williams went on 105.7 yesterday, and he was, of course, asked about Pharrell Payne, and he said, I ain't talking about it. And it's a really fine line for me, because I do say that, like, coaches do not have the obligation to tell you about injuries. It's not there. It is wild. However, there's not, like, somebody who's got a more detailed report about Pharrell Payne at this point. But that's the type of program that Buzz Williams runs. If you win, all good. If you lose, it's the type of stuff that wears on people quick and might explain why Buzz Williams is kind of quickly moving places. That, like, this, we're never going to – this is a really unique thing. You just said a young man was in the hospital. People would kind of like to know if there's an update on the young man. You were asking for people to pray for him. I understand Buzz's point. Whether I agree with it or not, I understand it. I'm just not going to talk about injuries. Like, that, I'm not going to do it, and I'm not going to change. I want to make sure I have the quote correct so that – Buzz Williams said, I'm pulling it. It was obviously, it happened on 105.7, but this is from InsideNDSports.com. Quote, I know this is new, but part of my policy, just for protections with my relationships with our families, and just because there's so many things that happen with our medical team, I don't comment on the health of any of our guys at any point. Not because I'm trying to be a jerk. I know a lot of things have changed in our current model of college athletics, but to some degree, I think I have to be the last form of protection. And so we'll follow all of the Big Ten protocols relative to injury reports, but I try to stay away from ever saying anything publicly regarding the health of any of our guys, unquote. And, like, it makes something abundantly clear. This doesn't make him a better person. Like, when he says, like, I want to be the last form of protection, chill the F out, dude. Like, God bless you for beating Marquette, and I hope you end up winning a lot of games, but spare me the last form of protection stuff. Spare me. This is not a personal thing. Spare me. Form of protection. Of what? Form of protection of what? It's actually the exact opposite of that. Because if you explain what happened, then we have the answer. Then you know what we're not going to be doing?
I don't know. speculating.
There you go. Spare me the last form of protection. You just want to say, guys, I'm never going to tell you about injuries because that's the type of coach I am, and I want to keep as much of an upper hand as I can over my opponent at all times. That's the thing I said about John Harbaugh. Like, you want me to be mad? I get it. I do understand. Now I understand where the NFL's coming from and why they're going to say to him, dude, you got to stop. And the NCAA might have to do the same thing. If they're involved with the Big Ten's taking money from betting companies, they might have to step. Whatever it is. But if you just want to say, this is the way it's going to go, I'm never going to talk to you about injuries, so sorry. I don't know why you're like that. I don't know why you couldn't just say, hey, he's out of the hospital, but that's all. Saying something after the last thing we heard was pray for him might be helpful. But if it's just going to be, hey, we're going to try to take every competitive edge that we can, so sorry, bummer for you guys, I'm never going to talk to you about injuries. That's one thing. But spare me the last form of protection. It's the opposite of that. It's not for him. It's for you. And if what he said was, I think Pharrell wants to be the one to say something about it, so I'm going to let him be the one to say something about it, that's a different conversation. So I'm good with, this is the way I run my program, as long as you're winning. You're winning, nobody's got anything to complain about. Nobody's going to care whether you're talking about injuries or not, ever, as long as you're winning. But when you don't win, this stuff wears thin. When you're winning, you can do whatever you want. You can do anything you want when you win. But it was a little over the top. It was a bit much. Hopefully, it wasn't, as I said yesterday, hopefully it wasn't as bad as it looked. Hopefully, there's some sort of good news to be had. But apparently we're not going to find that out from Buzz Williams. All right. Let's continue along on a Tuesday edition of the program. By the way, today's show is also brought to you by this print issue of PressBox. We're just talking about Maryland, and you see Jim Smith on the cover of this print issue. He's the athletic director at Maryland. Great cover story from Don Marcus. Lots of college hoops in this print issue. It is available for free at the Baltimore area High's Dairy stores. So go pick it up right now, and you can read it all, PressBoxOnline.com. You can read it for free on that website. The issue itself is free when you get to your Baltimore area High's Dairy stores in order to pick it up. It is a Tuesday, and if it's a Tuesday, that means we need to catch up with PressBox fantasy football analyst Joe Serpico, who's with us right now here on GCR. Joe, do you know what you're walking into today?
Oh, I already know that I'm going to get ridiculed for my take on Sean Tucker last week.
Joe, I know that you like to tell me what percentage of leagues a player is involved with, but as I've told you before, you have the problem where you're dealing with like the percentage of leagues that have 4 teams in them and were only created in order to do the draft. Sean Tucker's not available anymore in real competitive leagues, is he?
For the majority of leagues, he is not.
Yeah.
He's been snatched up, and I want to say it's around 50-60% of leagues. So, no, most of the leagues he's not available. If for some strange reason he is, yeah, you got to pick him up. But at the same time, kind of like I was saying last week, Bucky Irving's back to practicing.
Yes, that is
so
relevant.
That was
right, that is relevant.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so that's what was kind of steering me away from last week. Up until last week, the playing time didn't really match the numbers as well. So that was the other reason. I was like, okay, maybe it's more of a 50-50 split between the two. Tucker truly took over this past week, obviously. But, that's the only thing. Even if, you're in desperate need of running back help, Tucker is an ad for you this week. But at the same time, this might be a 1-2 week thing with Irving right around the corner.
Joe, you're telling me that you definitely weren't trying to dissuade me from picking up Sean Tucker in the PressBox League, knowing that the point differential could end up being like an issue going into the playoffs. There's no chance that was what was going on last week.
Well, I don't think I was playing against you this past week.
That's why I said I said it wasn't a head-to-head matchup. I said that. But, like, points could be relevant when we get to the end of the year.
Oh, of course, but at the same time, like I said last week, the playing time just wasn't adding up. So that's why I didn't see the big performance that he had coming out. It was compared to – he had more touches last week than he had the first, I believe it was like 6 or 7 weeks combined. And then there was no real injury to Rashad White. So this was like a slow thing that happened. Let's put it this way. I apologize if you did listen to me last week and didn't go and grab him. But there were people that did. I know I played against them in one league, and when I saw it, I was like, oh, crap.
Not great.
And I got my butt kicked. Let's put it that way.
All right, how hard are we going after Emmanuel Wilson this week?
I think of everybody that's available this week, he's the priority ad. It all, again, depends on what's going on with Josh Jacobs, but it's a knee injury. You always have to worry about those. The Packers are in a position right now where they don't necessarily need to use them. I know they're still chasing the Lions and the Bears for the NFC North lead there, but at the same time, I think they can get away with Jacobs being out a couple weeks, so Wilson will be the first guy to step up for them. He took over this past week. He had 11 carries for 40 yards and a touchdown. So if he's definitely going to miss extended time, that's your priority pickup for the week, and hopefully we find out some more information about that today.
Well, I was going to say, so we might have to make some fab decisions before then. Where you at with what kind of – so I guess the only report we got yesterday was that there's no structural damage for Josh Jacobs, so his season isn't over. So at most, maybe it's 1 week, maybe it's 2 weeks. What are you putting in fab-wise for Emmanuel Wilson?
See, this kind of makes me think back to literally was the last week, 2 weeks ago, with the whole situation with J.K. Dobbins, where Jacobs came back into the game for a little bit and then was back out. So it's one of those situations where we really got to wait and see what is going on there. As far as fab-wise goes, if you're a Jacobs owner, you got to go a little bit heavier on him. I would say probably 20% of your fab, and then depending on what your running back situation is moving forward, probably stay around that 20% range. Otherwise, let's say 15 to 10%, especially for those who are truly running back needy. But again, it all depends on what we hear. Hopefully, again, some more clarity on the whole situation today, and it's not a situation where, like Dobbins, where let's say he is out for the season, then Wilson, you're going after real heavy. We're talking as much of the fab as you got, essentially.
He is Joe Serpico, PressBox Fantasy Football Analyst. He's with us here on GCR. By the way, if for some reason you're in a miracle league where Sean Tucker isn't owned, what would be the fab that you're talking about for that?
Not as high because of Irving hopefully coming back. I mean, we've been talking about that for weeks now. Let's say 10-15% if you're needy. But at the same time, even that seems a little overboard just because, again, it could be any day now that he's basically somebody you're just stashing on your bench.
All right, and let's get through some of the others as we continue here with Joe Serpico. You continue to rave about Jacoby Brissett.
It still doesn't make any sense to me he's available as wide as he is. And since he's taken over in Week 6, he's been QB7, QB12, QB10, QB10, QB3. Broke the record for most completions this past weekend. Not sure if we're going to get into the discussion about Michael Wilson in a second, but, I mean, another smash start if he's out there for you, as long as Marvin Harrison Jr. is out. But if he's available in your league, you're looking for a quarterback, he's absolutely somebody you need in the roster.
Who should you be starting? You say you're looking for a quarterback. Who, if they're your quarterback, are you better off having Jacoby Brissett?
Let me think of that off the top of my head. But let's say, we saw an awful performance from Jared Goff the other night. Teams that are like that are like a little bit more balanced, I guess I should say, because we've seen now that the Cardinals are trailing a lot in games. So trying to think off the top of my head. Baker Mayfield, I can see myself going. Daniel Jones, I don't like his matchup this week against the Chiefs. So if you can have maybe both of those and play the matchup game the rest of the way, those are a couple guys that come off the top of my head. If you're in a situation where, let me think, like Sam Darnold this week, Sam Darnold I think plays against the Titans, so that's actually might be not another one, but Jackson Dart maybe against the Lions. That kind of fringe in between like 10 to 15 range. I have Brissett at least going into this week as QB8, so I like him over a lot of other guys.
You brought up Michael Wilson, right? That's somebody that you're saying you should be starting Michael Wilson at this point.
Yeah, until Marvin Harrison's out, yeah. I mean, what we saw this past weekend, we knew he was going to get extended looks, but I don't think anybody thought that he would be the leader in most yards in a game this season. He had the 185 yards, and 18 targets is just absurd. But I guess when you're throwing it, what was that, I believe 57 times, you're going to get that kind of result. But between him and Trey McBride, they're really not tossing it to anybody else. So as long as that's the case, you kind of want to hold on to Wilson. Again, another guy that might be, a couple week wonder, depending on when Marvin Harrison Jr. gets back to action. But until then, bye weeks are again a thing. So if you need somebody, that's a guy to consider.
By the way, I saw somebody on Twitter today. Hang on, his name is Bryce DeGroat. And the tweet said, Jacoby Brissett really saved Trey McBride. This run is special, very special. And I just started laughing for a second. Like, imagine being a Cardinals fan and reading this. Like, your team is just getting their ass kicked every week. And there's just some guy on Twitter like, we should be talking about what a special run Trey McBride is having. And I get it, like, from a fantasy football, and that's what this guy is he's a fantasy football guy. Absolutely, Trey McBride has been it's been a complete 180 since Jacoby Brissett has been the quarterback. I'm just imagining what it feels like for a fan of the team to like read that tweet. Like, shut up, dude. Our team sucks.
Yeah. You shouldn't need to throw it 57 times.
Right.
Complete an NFL record 47 times.
Right.
I can't remember off the top of my head. They were down like 28-0 kind of quickly. And that's kind of what forced that situation where it was basically they were trailing early and just had nothing to do other than air it out. So as somebody who is a Trey McBride owner, I am absolutely loving it. Don't get me wrong. But, yeah, as a Cardinals fan, you got to hate it because your team just got your ass kicked. And you're getting stats, but you're not getting wins.
Well, and by the way, as anyone who owns a Cardinals running back, like, Lord.
Who would be the Cardinals running back if you're in dire straits, like perhaps maybe I am this week? Who is the Cardinals running back that you think should be owned for this week?
I mean, I feel like we're flip-flopping between them every week. It's somebody different. Going into last week, I would have told you it was Amari DiMarcado. Then Sunday happened, and now I'm going to tell you, I guess it's Bam night, I guess, to say for this week. I'm one of those situations where I'm trying to avoid. I know I've said that about a couple different backfields. It's just you just don't know. It's hard to game plan for that going into a game. Okay, who's it going to be this week? A couple weeks ago, when Trey Benson first went down, it was DiMarcado for a couple weeks. Then I remember there was a time when we were picking up Michael Carter, and then it's been Bam night. So it's just like they just keep having this revolving door there. Hopefully, if you're one of those leagues where maybe Trey Benson is not on somebody's IR and out there, somebody to absolutely grab and stash until he comes back. But I'm not really trying to mess with that backfield, at least for starting purposes. You maybe want to own those guys, stash them, and if we get some clarity after this week. But I think it's one of those where once Benson's back, that's not going to be anything we got to worry about anymore, hopefully.
Are we like you have Kenneth Gainwell? Are you starting Kenneth Gainwell? Is that where you're at with him at this point?
I think that's one of those situations that depends on what's the status of Jaylen Warren moving forward. If Jaylen Warren's out, obviously, yes, he becomes I would say a must start, to be honest, just based off his futures. He's been getting a lot of the pass work and spelling Warren a little bit more as of late than he was at the start of the season. So, yes, if he's out there and you need somebody, especially for this week, you definitely want to add him. But this is the kind of the time of the year where I always kind of stress if you can keep a lot of these handcuffed running backs, that's what you want to do. There's, most of this conversation right here, right now, is about handcuffed running backs. If you're in a league where you only need 2 wide receivers and you're kind of set there, you don't need a Michael Wilson for this week. There's no point in having him just basically riding on your bench. There is a lot more value to a Kenneth Gainwell or even I mean, I hate to say it, but even a Bam Knight is a little bit more valuable than somebody who's your fourth or fifth receiver that you're never going to start. So that's why I always keep that list of handcuffed running backs at the bottom there. I think that those guys are actually more valuable than some of the other guys that we're listing out there. Some of these guys are more bye-week fill-ins, but at the same time, you just go through that list of, let's say, your Bashaw Tune. Something happens with Travis Etienne, he becomes a must-start. Blake Corum, something happens to Kyron Williams, he becomes a must-start. So that's why I kind of keep that list in there. Those guys are usually not as heavily rostered, but they can be kind of what you call a lottery ticket at this time of the year.
Where are you at with even the possibility of starting common on guy if you're desperate this week? Are we still doing that, or we have to give up on that?
Yeah, I think that's something now that DeAndre Swift is back. We were kind of hoping for a Sonic and Knuckles situation, but it seems to be that it's more back to Swift being the guy, which he deserved it based off his play earlier this year. I mean, I know Mononga had that one strong game when Swift was out, but he's another one of those guys. Do you want to start him? Probably not unless you're truly desperate, but absolutely somebody you need to hold on to in the event, let's say something happens to Swift again. You can saw how effective he is.
Is there any world where Tyrod Taylor is a consideration for you?
No.
Okay.
I don't want anything to do with the Jets other than Breece Hall. Let's just put it that way. The rest, I mean, maybe Mason Taylor if you're truly desperate, but I haven't seen anything from definitely not the pass catchers. Let's put it that way. And then the quarterbacks I'm steering clear. There's about 20 options probably ahead of Tyrod Taylor. Let's just put it that way.
And then I saw Christian Watson on your list, but like, can you actually start a Packers wide receiver though? Like, I feel like that's still like, yeah, you want to have him on your team, but you're never going to play him.
Yes, you're probably right about that. He's their home run threat. He's their guy that they look for in big plays. He's getting more and more usage as he's come back from injury. And then Romeo Doubs got banged up this past weekend, so that's kind of the reason why I actually listed Watson in there. Because if Doubs goes down, they're going to need somebody to step up. Matthew Golden's been a little bit banged up of his own, and then let's face it, the rest of that receiving group really hasn't done a whole lot this season. So of anybody who's kind of came back and made an impact, it's Watson. But yes, you're kind of correct. Unless you're like truly needy, he's probably more end of bench for you. But if you must start a receiver this weekend, Watson's somebody to consider.
Go ahead.
What was I going to ask about? Oh yeah, what was I going to ask about?
All right,
I got Bashaw Tootin. How hard would you go after Bashaw Tootin? If I know he's banged up now, but I mean they were splitting carries, him and Etienne in that game. If you're again desperate at running back, how hard for Tootin?
I mean, I'm not going to again. It all depends on his injury status too.
Yeah.
We'll find out hopefully more of that today. But I'm not going overboard. Maybe 5 to 10% of your fab just to see how that kind of plays out. But at the same time, that's what makes the hard thing about waiver wires being in the mornings. I'm one of those guys that's kind of leaning towards moving waiver wires till, let's say, Wednesday night. I'm in a league that does that, and I like that a lot more. So you can find out some more clarity about injuries. But Bashaw Tootin, until we find out a little bit more, he's another one of those guys that, yeah, you add him because of all what I've said before about all your handcuff running backs. But if he doesn't play this week, I'm not going extra crazy to go grab him.
I need help at tight end. Rondé Gadsden's on bye, and Dalton Kincaid probably isn't going to play Thursday night. So would you slot it? Would you just pick up Dawson Knox, or Hunter Henry's available? And, it's pretty thin otherwise at tight end. A.J. Barner in Seattle. Who do you like at tight end?
All those names, I mean, A.J. Barner had a hell of a week this past week, but they were another situation where they were in catch-up, so they had to throw it a lot. Hunter Henry is one of those guys that continues to blow my mind. Just he's phenomenal for 2 games and then just stinks for another 3 or 4 games, but that's the tight end position. So of all those names there, Henry's the most likely to get extended looks. With the Seahawks playing the Titans this week, I could see that just being one of those situations where they just smash it down their throats the whole game. But then again, it could be also a situation where Sam Darnold throws for another 4 touchdowns instead of 4 interceptions. So
Theo Johnson, David Njoku are also available.
Say it again.
Theo Johnson and David Njoku.
So actually, Theo Johnson's available. That's somebody.
You like Theo Johnson?
Yeah, Theo Johnson's been just getting more and more looks each week. He's somebody that if he's somehow available, he's actually probably going to be a top 10 tight end for me moving forward for the rest of the year because he's just getting more and more looks every week. So, yeah, if he's the guy that's out there for you, he's more than considered than Hunter Henry or Dawson Knox for sure.
All right. At Joe Serp is how you follow him. PressBoxOnline.com is where you see all of his stuff. Joe Serpico, even when you lead us astray, always appreciate you, buddy. Thanks for taking time for us.
Absolutely, guys. We'll talk next week.
That's Joe Serpico with us to preview Waiver-Wire Wednesday. When we come back in, we will we'll go over 5 plays. Then we'll do Tidbit and Tuba to wrap it up. It is a Tuesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
Get ready to hit the ultimate holiday jackpot at Live Casino during the live-action $1 million giveaway. Every Friday through December 26th, we'll draw 25 lucky cash winners. But only one winner each Friday will advance to the final rounds on December 26th, where you could win $1 million in just 3 spins. Come make your million, only at Live Casino. At Erndale Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Feeling sluggish, unfocused, or not like yourself? It could be low testosterone. At Game Day Men's Health, we specialize in testosterone replacement therapy to help men boost energy, improve mood, and regain confidence. Our treatments, including testosterone cypionate, are safe, natural, and tailored to fit your lifestyle with weekly injections or pellet therapy. Get started today with a free testosterone test and feel the difference. GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Game Day Men's Health, where men reclaim their game.
The weather's getting cooler, so when you and your family are picking out a place to dine, be it lunch or dinner, let's make it nice and easy. Now, with 2 great locations, the Costas Inn remains your #1 destination. Whether you want to get steamed crabs and the full Costas menu out at the original location at 4100 North Point Boulevard, or sample the complete menu minus the steamed crabs at the new location above the grandstand at the Timonium Racetrack, Costas is your place to go. Check out the website, CostasInn.com, for a look at the menu, and if you want to plan that crab feast, call 410-477-1975. The Costas Inn.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Looking for Baltimore's premier waterfront dining experience? Head to Nick's Fish House, located in the Baltimore Peninsula. Enjoy crabs all year long, plus happy hour Monday through Thursday from 3 to 6. Planning a celebration? From rehearsal dinners to corporate crab feasts, Nick's is the spot to make it unforgettable. And the fun doesn't stop there. Live music fills the air every Thursday through Sunday. Check out the full lineup at nicksfishhouse.com. Nick's, it's where Baltimore comes to eat, drink, and play by the water.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
All right, winding down for a Tuesday edition of the program. Let's go over the 5 plays that told the story of the Ravens' win. I think there were only a couple of plays that really mattered, but we got to do 5 anyway, so that's what it is. My number 5 will be the deep pass to Zay Flowers from the second quarter when the Ravens had fallen behind 13-3 after the pick 6, and they just weren't getting things going. They did have 2 runs that sort of set this up. There was, I think, both were Derrick Henry runs. And then, obviously, the big hitter to Zay Flowers all the way down to the 3. And this one, of course, was relevant because they, actually punched it into the end zone, which is something that they didn't do much on the day. And, of course, this was the only touchdown that they scored in the red zone all day. So this play, while it was a first down play, They just needed to get things going because it was the one time during the day that, like, things did sort of seem like they might be in jeopardy as they had fallen behind by 2 scores. So it's my number 5.
It's my number 5 as well. I felt the same way. I was quite, debating, do I need a first half play on here? If there was one, that's definitely this one because, while again it was it was a first down play and it wasn't like they necessarily needed this at this moment. They needed to do something.
Right.
They needed to do something, and this definitely sparked them. So 45-yard touchdown or 45-yard pass.
Yes,
leading to a touchdown. Zay Flowers as well.
My number 4 was the 3rd and 10 play to Zay Flowers in the 4th quarter. This is when they were trailing 16-13, and it's kind of a combination. Like, the unspoken part is they were at 2nd and 19 after the sack. And so when they got to 3rd and 10, it was, I guess, 3rd and manageable again. But it really is about getting out of a 2nd and 19 hole. They were in 2nd and 19, in some trouble, trailing 16-13 again. And with time starting to be a factor. And, like, maybe if you punt here, you get the ball back again, all's good, you score a touchdown, you win anyway. Maybe. But time was starting to become an issue. And you were running the risk of one thing going the wrong way. And faced with a 3rd and 10 and having to get out of a 2nd and 19 hole, another play to Zay Flowers. That's my number 4.
Yeah, I have that one a little higher on my list, just because they were trailing and Myles Garrett was about to get his 5th sack, and they were able to elude that and pick up a massive first down on 3rd down. So I have that one a little bit higher. I went with I had to put the interception on here, even though it. They turned the ball over the very next
I don't know
play.
how you can put the interception
because this was just what the story of the second half was, and that they were getting to Shedeur the entire time, and he had no clue what he was doing, and I think a lot of that is credit to what the Ravens were showing him. I mean, this was another Kyle Van Noy. Somehow they schemed it up so that Kyle Van Noy had a free hitter at Shedeur. Shedeur had to get it out quickly, airmailed it right into the hands of Nate Wiggins, and this was also a 3rd down. I mean, this is just any of the 3rd downs defensively that the Ravens had in the second half. I feel like could have been on here, and so I wanted to put this one on there. So I have the interception. It was a turnover, and it just kind of further proved that Shedeur, you're not going to be able to hang around with these guys. So.
Okay. It definitely did not get much consideration from me.
In part because
of what happened afterwards. And it's okay. It's all right.
No, you're okay. It's all right.
No. It's adorable. My number 3 is the intentional grounding on 3rd down that changed a punt from the 20-yard line to a punt from the 5-yard line. And it's so funny because there are people around me like, why wouldn't it be half the distance to the goal line? Of course, because intentional grounding is a spot foul, right? Like, it's not a half the distance to the goal line foul. And the Ravens ended up getting the ball at the 44. And while, maybe that Mark Andrews play would have worked from any place on the field, I don't know. I don't know if you're making that decision if you're not at the 35-yard line to go for it on 4th and 1. It really changed everything about the late stages of the game. Trenton Simpson getting Shedeur Sanders into trouble. And Shedeur Sanders trying to get rid of the ball and coming nowhere close to, I mean, this is some textbook intentional grounding stuff here, but and it negated another penalty that would have been on the play as well.
Yeah,
that would have given them,
yeah.
I think, another try, or the Ravens, I guess, would have just declined it. But
yeah.
Yeah, that backed them up to the 5 and forced them in a bad place for a punt, and the Ravens took over at the 44, and the rest is history.
You got this one right.
Oh,
Good
yeah?
job.
How about that?
Yeah, I had the intentional grounding here as well. I was debating as well between the...
Well, then what the hell did you leave off your list?
I guess we'll find out. I was thinking about the sack as well on the first series that Shedeur had, where Kyle Hamilton just came in and killed him, kind of gave him his welcome to the NFL moment here. What?
I'm just trying to figure out which of the other 2 plays is not on your list.
The intentional grounding is my number 3. My number 2 is the 18-yard pass to Zay on 3rd down.
Yeah, which means that one of these 2 plays isn't on your list, which is nuts.
I don't know which one I need to have.
Number 2.
Well, because the game was over at that point.
What? I'm looking at looking at the board.
We knew they weren't going to score. I just.
And I'm seeing that you put Chidobe Awuzie at number 3 on your board.
Well, yeah.
Which
he had a good game.
It had a good game, but the only real argument for Chidobe Awuzie being on the board is that he broke
'cause
up
the 3 total
a would-be tying touchdown in the end zone.
Yeah, but we knew they were the Browns. They weren't gonna. They weren't gonna do the right
reason.
thing anyway. The guy was gonna drop it somehow
To put him on the board.
Or they weren't gonna get the 2-point conversion, and they were gonna
And
lose.
it's not on your list.
Well, but yeah, because the third down to Zay was a bigger play because they needed to score on that drive while trailing in the fourth quarter to the Browns on the road.
Number 2, of course, is Chidobe Awuzie breaking up the would-be tying touchdown in the end zone, as Bo Smolka referenced.
What about the fourth
earlier
down play
today.
after that? Like, they needed to make both of those.
Yeah, but that one wasn't a touchdown. This one was a touchdown until Chidobe Awuzie.
I guess I just
got it
I see me. I expect that kind of play from Chidobe Awuzie.
You put him number 3 on your list.
I know. Yeah, he was really good, including that play that you're referencing.
Not sure if you're aware. You had him as number 3. Yeah. Chidobe Awuzie breaking up a touchdown is number 2, which is bizarre. And then number 1 really could be anything. Whatever you put on your list, I think I'm good with for number 1 this week. We don't have to, debate about it. I think it's any old play from the course of the game would have been fine to be number 1.
Yeah, I mean, like, what was it, 4 yards? Is that what Mark Andrews picked up on his first catch?
Great point. Yeah, that set
went
the
down
record.
in the history books.
That's right.
Thought that kind of set the tone for the day.
Yeah, it's a hurricane. Pour me another one, make it a hurricane before I go insane. Yeah, that's something. No, it's pour me something tall and strong, I think is the lyric. Brian was getting on me because I did the thing today apparently that I did yesterday where I, for some reason, called Braxton Woodson Braxton Woodside. I don't know where that comes from. I have no idea. But I did it yesterday because I remember doing it. And then I remember saying yesterday I screwed up and called him Braxton Woodside. Today, apparently, did it again.
Yeah, you definitely had the biggest screw-ups today.
I don't know. Oh, yeah. Let's talk about that. Definitely a day where you should, if y'all knew. God. I'm not even mad at you on the one before the show. That one was we can call that a communication error. Like, that can be a little bit of both of us. The one that happened during the show is a colossal. Like, if we were playing the game, you'd just take all 5. If you had a hair in your ass, you'd say, I lost. If it was 4-0, you would say, I lost the game. I'm sorry. No one will know. No one will know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We covered well, obviously.
Yeah. We'll get it up at GlennClarkRadio.com. 5 plays that told the story of the Ravens win. It was a mixed bag for me. I actually don't know how we finished because I had to be awake at 3 a.m. today. As I said, any mistakes that have been made today or yesterday can be attributed to 5 hours of sleep coming back from Cleveland and then 4 hours of sleep last night.
You slept the whole drive back?
More or less. 4 hours of sleep last night because I went to trivia and then I had to go to work. And then I looked down at trivia, and the game that started at 7, it was 9:30. And I didn't realize it was 9:30. We had just turned in our answer for the final question, and we were, like, waiting.
Well, you're probably watching that thrilling Monday Night Football game, too.
So I'm like, I have to go. I don't even know. I know what the answer was because they texted me what the answer was. I don't know if we won. We were in first place by a good bit going into the final question, but we didn't get it right. We didn't wager anything, so it didn't matter. I have no idea if we won or not but from trivia last night. But I know the one sports question I did not do very well with. What are the 4 quarterbacks?
Well, you don't know anything about sports.
Who are the 4 quarterbacks
Not surprising.
who threw for at least 30,000 yards in the 90s?
30,000 yards.
In the 90s.
4 of them.
4 of them threw for 30,000 yards or more in the 90s. So all of the yards, not who reached the 30,000 yard mark in the 90s,
Sure.
who threw within
Had to
the
be between
context
1990
of the 90s, who threw for 30,000 yards.
Elway.
Yes.
Okay, sure.
We got that one.
Aikman.
No.
Really? When did he play?
We did not guess Troy Aikman.
Oh, you did not guess him. And he is not correct.
He is not correct.
Why? Did he play in the 80s?
I mean, he started in the 80s, but he played through the 90s. It's just that they had Emmitt Smith.
Oh.
So
who's he?
I don't know if you heard.
Young.
No. We got that one wrong, and I specifically made sure to include it because whenever we do trivia, I always forget. It's like a running bit that we've been doing for 15 years that I always forget Steve Young for these things. So I made sure to include him, and we were wrong.
Kelly.
Also a guess that we made. Also wrong.
Jeez.
So For the
I went
record,
1 for 4.
You went 1 for 4, so I did better than you. I went 2 for 4.
So you got who? Favre. Dang. Is that who you get?
Out there
you get
slinging
him?
it. No, I decided not because he started a little bit later in the 90s.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah. But he was slinging.
Who else was slinging in the? That would be not Harbaugh.
No, not quite.
Probably not Dilfer. Oh, you really? No?
I'm not telling you. I'm not telling you.
Oh man,
Here's a high draft pick.
I gotta go back to the 90s here.
Missing 2.
Who won Super Bowls in the 90s? I'm forgetting. I don't think. Yeah, it wouldn't be Warner.
Well, considering he didn't start playing until the end of the 90s.
Yeah, but maybe he threw for 30,000 in that
in one
year.
season.
Yeah. Maybe. When did Bledsoe start playing? Not gonna be Bledsoe.
Definitely not Drew Bledsoe. Definitely not.
Zaire.
Really? They're both Hall of Famers.
Oh, they're Hall of Famers?
Yeah.
Moon.
Warren Moon.
Dang.
Recent guest in GCR. Got that one wrong. Or just didn't put it on my list.
Yeah.
And it came up in
Elway,
conversation. I was like,
Favre.
I'd be surprised if Warren Moon got to 30,000 yards.
Elway, Moon, Favre, and
Smoking the reefer.
That's a hint.
No. It's a line from Super Troopers.
Oh, okay.
Littering and smoke. Have you watched Super Troopers?
No.
Put it on the list. That one's.
Should I watch that before tomorrow before Drew gets here?
I don't even think Drew cares about. I don't want to do these with Drew because Drew only likes movies from 1984. Like, that's part of the problem here.
Let's do Top Gun.
If it's more recent than 1984, he doesn't. I'm not sure he knows about it. Yeah, we got a lot going on tomorrow. I don't know if we're gonna have time for a movie review tomorrow.
Yeah, you're right. Super Troopers.
Maybe do Super Troopers for next week.
Okay, Drew won't. Okay, you don't want Drew here. Oh.
Yeah, he doesn't know anything about Super Troopers.
Maybe. I'm trying to think. Who else won? Who else was good in the 90s?
A Hall of Famer.
Oh, a Hall of Famer. Right,
Hall of
right.
Famer.
Yeah. Let's go with. Did he throw it right-handed?
Yes. Sure did.
Okay, let me scratch off a guy. When did he? No, Bradshaw is the 80s, right? Or the 70s?
Yeah, it's definitely not Terry Bradshaw.
Who was quarterback for the Steelers in the 90s?
They went through a few.
Okay, so it's not the Steelers.
Neil
Cordell Stewart.
Neil O'Donnell took him to a Super Bowl. Cordell Stewart. Tommy Maddox, obviously, begat Ben Roethlisberger. Dynamite stuff.
Esiason.
Not in the Hall of Fame.
Not in the Hall of Fame.
No.
Wonder how close he was. Like yards-wise to this
I
stat.
don't know. I don't know about that.
Um,
a Hall of Fame quarterback. One of the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
One of the greatest, you said?
Literally one of the greatest quarterbacks
Marino.
of all time.
No,
hey!
oh, really?
Dan Marino.
Really?
Look at you.
I thought he would have been old.
Dan
Thought he would have been old at
Marino.
this point.
He would have been. So was John Elway, but they both threw for.
I thought Elway played. When was Elway's last
They
year?
were both in the same draft. They were both in '83.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yep. 100%. 1983.
How long did Marino and Elway play? Did Elway play longer?
They both played about the same amount of time. Elway might have been 1 year longer. Yeah. Elway went number 1 overall in 1983. Of course, Jim Kelly was also famously in the same draft. And Marino went.
Elway played until 98.
Marino
played until 99. Wow. Okay.
Marino
I should have had
27th overall in that draft. So
The Broncos got the better guy, right? Or
well, none of them had won a Super Bowl until that was there was like the curse of the '83 draft. It was like a thing that they talked about of these 3 great quarterbacks that couldn't win a Super Bowl until finally Elway won 2. All right, tidbit brought to you today by.
Want that to be it, or
we can, yeah. Project Game Day. It is 12:44, and I have to run out. I got to go to Game Day Men's Health today, so maybe that'll be tidbit. Is it good?
I mean, it is good, but I think it can wait.
Safe? Okay.
Yeah.
Brought to you by Project Game Day. We'll be back this Sunday. The whole crew will be back together this Sunday. Myself, Rita, KZ, Stetka, former Ravens linebacker Tyus Bowser. Griffin will be there. Come hang out with us. PressBoxOnline.com/gameday. Immediately following Ravens Jets. It's all brought to you by Game Day Men's Health, 1-800-GAMBLER, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, the Costa Inn, and Live Casino and Hotel.
I do have one good one. So Shador, it seems like he'll start. So he'll be the 18th quarterback to make his first career start for the Browns since they went back to Cleveland in 1999. The previous 17 are 0-17 straight up. The last quarterback to win his first career start for the Browns was in 1995.
First career start in 95.
Yes. And win for the Browns.
Vinny?
No.
I don't know.
Eric Zier.
Oh, okay. All right. I loved Eric Zier. I mean, I was all in on Eric Zier. Eric Zier was going to save the Ravens.
He was the last Brown to win his first career start.
Hey, if you missed either of Stan's great shows last week with Rick Dempsey or with Maryland Athletic Director Jim Smith, you can find them right now. Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline, or PressBoxOnline.com/video. As always, Stan's shows are brought to you by the Costa Inn and the all-new Costa Inn open in Timonium. Here's what's coming up totally tubular-wise this evening. Lots of college hoops, lots of local hoops to choose from. Towson in action tonight. They are at James Madison, 7 o'clock on ESPN+. Coppin playing Central Penn right now on ESPN+. Coppin's been owning that 11 a.m. window. Like, they love playing at 11 a.m. Navy in North Carolina tonight, 7 o'clock on ACC Network. Morgan hosts North Carolina A&T tonight at 7. There's no video stream for that, but you can listen on HSRN. And then the Champions Classic is tonight on ESPN. Michigan State, Kentucky at 6:30, and Kansas Duke at 9 o'clock. Everything else, go to GlennClarkRadio.com and find it there. Non-sport. Oh, there's a friendly between the U.S. men and Uruguay tonight at 7 on TNT and True TV. But everything else, find it at GlennClarkRadio.com. Non-sports highlights?
Not really.
Okay.
Night 3 of BravoCon with Andy Cohen.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. But
I think they're out in
I
Vegas.
didn't catch night 2, so I wouldn't know.
I think
I wouldn't be able to follow the plot.
No, you'll be
You know
okay.
what I mean?
You'll be okay.
Like, I think it'd be tough.
You'll be okay.
Thanks today to Braxton Woodson, Navy quarterback. Thanks to DJ Armstrong Jr. from UMBC. Thanks to Bo Smolka and to Joe Serpico. We'll get it all up in the greatest hits section of the
Ariana Grande and Josh Hutcherson on Fallon tonight.
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Tomorrow on the program, you say Drew's going to be here.
Drew should be here, yeah.
Andrew Catalan from CBS, who called last week's game and will call this week's game as well. They get the back-to-back.
Ravens broadcaster.
Yeah, right, Andrew. And then you said something else was tomorrow.
Another broadcaster, Johnny Holiday.
The great Johnny Holiday is calling his 1,500th career game tomorrow night, which is unbelievable. And may he live forever. May there be another 88 years of Johnny Holiday calling games. But Johnny Holiday, the legend himself, will join us tomorrow to talk about 1,500 games. That's awesome. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all our great sponsors and partners, including Game Day Men's Health, Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, CountySports.zone, your local Toyota dealer, and buyatoyota.com, Nick's Fish House, 1-800-GAMBLER, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, the Baltimore area High's Dairy Stores, and the Costas Inn. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Tuesday evening. Go Towson, go Morgan, go Coppin, go Navy, Duke sucks.